Jungkook finally spoke up, revealing feelings that had been buried for a long time and shocking everyone. In a routine military drill, usually filled with harsh instructions and strict discipline, the atmosphere changed completely because of Jungkook's simple words. Those words not only made Jimin cry, but also touched the hearts of thousands of ARMY fans who witnessed it. The question is, what exactly did Jungkook say that made this event so emotional? This event took place at the 5th Division headquarters, a place usually filled with the sound of orderly footsteps and firm commands. That day was supposed to be no different from a regular training session: morning runs, push-ups, and martial arts practice. However, something felt off since the morning. Jungkook, known for his never-ending energy, appeared much calmer and more stressed than usual. Even Jimin, always cheerful and full of energy, couldn't hide his worry. Since a few days before, Jungkook had taken an unusual leave, and that made Jimin even more curious. When the martial arts session began, all the soldiers gathered in hopes of witnessing an exciting duel between these two legendary idols. However, this time, something was different. After the signal to start, the fight began, but soon after, Jungkook stopped. He was panting, his eyes started to well up with tears. All the soldiers watching went silent. Suddenly, Jungkook walked up to Jimin and hugged him tightly. Silence enveloped the training field, and even the instructors, usually very stern, could only stand still. Stifled sobs could be heard from several corners. What happened in this moment was more than just a hug. It was a deeply emotional expression that revealed the fear and burden Jungkook had been carrying. He, who always appeared strong and full of energy, now opened up. "I just feel like time is moving too fast," Jungkook said in a heavy voice full of regret. Those words reflected the worry that had been stored inside him for so long. The time that had passed since they joined the military felt so fast, and the end of this chapter was drawing nearer. Jimin, seeing his friends struggling with these emotions, tried to offer support. "We're almost at the finish line, you're not alone," Jimin said softly, patting Jungkook's shoulder. After that emotional moment, the training continued, but all the soldiers who witnessed the event couldn't forget what had happened. They realized that behind the superstar image and idol status, Jungkook was a regular person who also had fears, anxieties, and vulnerabilities. That night, in the barracks, the atmosphere grew quiet. Jimin looked towards Jungkook's bed where he lay still. Normally, they would talk about many things, joke, or just laugh lightly. But that night, Jungkook seemed much quieter, more downcast. Eventually, Jimin gathered the courage to say, "You know, you can talk to me anytime, right?" Jungkook sighed softly and replied, "I don't know where to start, Hang." In that response, Jimin realized that Jungkook wasn't afraid of the harsh military training, but of life afterward. Life, after almost 2 years of military routines far from the public eye, would be very different. The outside world, full of expectations, cameras, and pressure, now felt terrifying for Jungkook. Jungkook, who had always been known as someone who could do everything perfectly, now felt his greatest fear in life. What if he couldn't return the same? What if the world waiting for him expected him to be perfect, while he was afraid of change? Jimin looked at his friend with great care, then gently patted his back. "We all change, Jungkook. It's part of life. But you won't face this alone. You have me, we have the members, and we have ARMY. No one expects you to be perfect. They just want you to be yourself." The next day, another surprise came. Jungkook and Jimin were called by the military administration to receive an official letter from Bang Si Hyuk, the founder of HYB and a father figure to BTS. The letter contained a message that shook their hearts. "I know this is not an easy time for you. As the end draws near, you may feel confused, afraid, or anxious about what lies ahead. But know this, the world is not waiting for you with demands. The world is waiting for you with love. No one expects you to come back perfect, they just want you to return as yourself. I'm looking forward to the day we meet again, without pressure, just pride." Reading the letter, Jungkook couldn't hold back his tears. Jimin hugged his friend with love, then said with a small smile, "Even Bang Pedin believes in you. Now it's your turn to believe in yourself." That moment not only made Jimin emotional but also touched the hearts of ARMY all over the world. This story quickly spread on social media, with the hashtag #WeBelieveInJungkook trending on various platforms. ARMY all over the world cried, not out of sadness, but because they finally realized how heavy the burden Jungkook had been carrying all this time. Messages of support flooded social media. You're not alone, Jungkook. You don't have to be perfect, just be yourself. We're waiting for you to come back with a smile, not with pressure. This support was not only for Jungkook, but also for BTS as a whole, who had given so much to ARMY without ever complaining. In the months to come, Jungkook and Jimin would return to a world full of hope, but they would return with a stronger spirit and unshakable trust from ARMY. This journey would always be remembered as the moment when fear, honesty, and friendship overcame all the pressures from the outside. Was Jungkook ready to return to the big stage? The answer may not be certain, but one thing was clear: he would not return alone. The trust and support given by those who love him unconditionally, including ARMY, is the greatest strength he has. That is what will bring him back, not as a perfect figure, but as himself. When a story like this touches so many hearts, it certainly raises a big question. Do we truly believe that this event is real, or is it all just a setup to attract media attention? With all the emotional and dramatic details revealed, we might be swept away by a story that seems to stir our empathy. However, have we been critical enough in assessing the truth of this information? We must realize that there is a lot of news out there, especially on social media, that doesn't necessarily reflect the full truth. When we watch a video or read an article describing an emotional moment between Jungkook and Jimin, we are surely moved and touched. However, the question we should ask is, did this story truly happen as presented? Or is it just part of a media strategy to make us emotionally connect with the idols? This is not just a story about two friends supporting each other, but there may be a larger goal behind it. When we talk about the entertainment world, we cannot ignore the reality that everything can be politicized or exploited for certain interests. In this case, did this emotional moment truly happen on its own? Or were there certain elements purposely built to make it more dramatic and viral? The fact that this information comes from various platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter, which often lack clear verification, should make us more cautious in accepting information. It is not uncommon to come across news that quickly goes viral, only to later be proven false or exaggerated. Will we let ourselves be caught up in the sensationalism offered by the media? Should we believe that this story truly reflects the reality, or is it part of an effort to capture the world's attention in a dramatic way? These questions are important to ask if we want to maintain a skeptical and reflective attitude towards every piece of information we receive. We certainly want to believe that Jungkook and Jimin have such a close relationship, and this story may be a reflection of how strong their friendship bond is. However, we must remember that the media often uses emotional stories like this to connect fans with their idols. Was this story created to strengthen the emotional bond between BTS and ARMY, or does it truly recount a personal moment that actually happened on the field? This reminds us of the importance of critical thinking. As consumers of information, we should not easily believe every narrative presented to us. Are we sure that every detail in this article is the truth, or have we simply fallen into the narrative built by the media? In this fast-paced world, where information flows rapidly through various channels, it is essential for us to be skeptical and always seek the truth behind every story that circulates. We invite you to reflect more deeply on the event that has been shared. Even though the emotions depicted are so strong, have we verified its truth? Does this information come from a reliable source, or is it just a story spread without clear evidence? Don't be easily swayed by what appears on the surface. Try to think more critically because, in a world filled with information and news that can go viral easily, a skeptical attitude is crucial to ensure we don't get caught up in sensationalism that only seeks attention. Reflecting on this event, we invite you to think more deeply. Did this event truly happen, or is it merely a fabrication deliberately created to attract media attention? Do not rush to conclusions, because we must question every piece of information we receive. Does this article or news reflect the actual facts, Or is it just a hoax deliberately spread for sensationalism? Remember that this information comes from various media sources such as TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and others, but can we trust it just like that? We encourage you to remain skeptical and reflective when dealing with any circulating information, because in a world of fast-paced information, truth is often distorted.